Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our third ASCUS meeting of the year. It's the end of winter. That means it's almost springtime. So, pitchers and catchers report on Wednesday. The dark time is almost over. Thank you for coming this morning. Do we have any new people today who haven't attended before? Oh, welcome. Welcome. ASCUS stands for Arizona School Computer Users Support. That's what we do. We support each other, and we bring you information. This morning, Mark Masterson will be here, the Director of IT for ADE, to talk about the RFP and the plans for the student-wide student information system. And then we have a representative from Heinzfeld and Meach to discuss audit issues, that the way they approach the audit, and any questions that people may have specifically had about the audit. And then after that, the finance group will go to the Esperanza room, right around the corner over here, and they will discuss the changes to the grants management website. And for student users, Lori Ventura will be here to discuss the changes and what was learned from the 40th day of Student-Teacher Course Connection and plans for the 100th day. Today we have a lot of people here, but we have a slightly smaller group than normal because of the ETC group, the Educational Technologies Consortium group, is also having their conference this week, so there are quite a few people who aren't here. So we don't want that to happen next year, of course. So for any of you who have access to calendar information for next year, a vendor user group meeting or user conference, or if you work as another smaller group and you have regular meetings, please email those dates to me, and the board will meet in June to plan next year's calendar so that we don't have conflicts like we do this week. We want to make sure that everybody who wants to come has the opportunity to attend. And because we have a smaller group and because we're missing quite a few members today, the meeting is going to be recorded. And that will be, thank you to Alhambra Elementary for setting everything up for us. And that will be posted on our website. We'll record the pieces of the meeting, the presentations, and my husband is back there monitoring the camera so that we make sure that we get everything, and we'll be able to post that on the website. We have updated our website. Our web developer has been working on putting together a method by which you will be able to register on the website. Let us know if you're going to be attending meetings. Then we'll be able to generate our lists based on who's going to be paying cash and who's going to be issuing the PO. And at lunchtime, Susie Smith from Dysart is going to go over what it looks like. And again, we will post a PowerPoint step-by-step process on the district website so that we can start using that next time for our next meeting to get everybody checked in and ready to go. Our next meeting is on a Wednesday. It's Wednesday, April 24th. When we do our surveys, we always ask for input of what you would like to see and any changes you would like to see. And for those of our members who come from a long distance, Fridays can sometimes present traffic problems getting out of town. So we put our next meeting on Wednesday. We'll see how it goes. We'll get your feedback and we'll do what we can to mix them up so that, again, everybody that wants to come will be able to have an opportunity to come. I have a couple of things that I want to let you know about. Through ASBO, I received an email about school districts counting students that are part of a dropout recovery program, and it became effective for this school year. These students are going to wind up being reported manually. So what we will do is contact Lyle Friesen at School Finance to get more information. If necessary, we'll ask somebody from School Finance to attend the next meeting so that we have all the accurate information for you. I did receive an email through ESS, and I'm sure that the majority of you in this room did as well, that was addressing the October 1 counts, but the email also included the items for English language learner and free and reduced lunch eligibility that they said they wanted by December the 14th. I haven't been able to get clarification from anybody else at ADE on that. It was just included in this email from ESS. Legally, we don't have to report all of our ELL kids until the end of June, and free and reduced lunch is March 1st, right? Or April 1st? April 1st. I always have to check my calendar because I can never remember. So even though this email went out, statute hasn't changed, and we still don't have clarification from ADE, but I just wanted to let you know that that's still on the back burner of things that I'm trying to get resolved for us so that we have all the information. Nancy from Cave Creek had an issue with a W7 student who had come back, withdrawn last year because they hadn't passed Ames, then came back and took the Ames and passed it. So the information that Nancy received from school finance I wanted to share with you. When that occurs, submit a non-refundable enrollment for the year and then withdraw the student as a W7 so that we don't wind up having a conflict with ADE, or a conflict rather with the ADM, but the cohort still gets the credit for the student being a graduate, even though they're a fifth-year graduate.
So what are we supposed to do on that one again?
Enroll the student, submit the student a non-refundable enrollment for this year, and then withdraw them as a W7, as a graduate. Non-fundable. Which tuition pair code? Tuition pair code 2. You may recall several months ago, Flagstaff Unified requested some additional information regarding the new Arizona residency form, and if parents refuse to fill it out, if we can't get it from the students, what are we supposed to do about that? I forwarded those questions to school finance, did not receive an answer. At our last board meeting, it was suggested that I forward those questions to the audit unit, which I have done. I still have not received an answer. I just wanted you to know that it's still out there. And all I can tell you is, like everything else, we got to do the best we can. And if we don't get the paperwork, we don't get the paperwork. When I get a response, if it's not before the next meeting, we'll put a note on the website, and Susie will send an email out letting you know that there's information on the website about that one. For the CRDC reports, just let you know, in case you didn't hear, AZ Safe report, the AZ Safe discipline reports, there are now reports to give you the counts on those discipline students that you report through AZ Safe and the counts that you need for the CRDC. Bear in mind, if you only report mandatory information like I do, those reports aren't going to give you back everything that you need. But if you're a school district that puts all of your discipline information into AZ Safe, then the reports will be able to give you the information you need for the CRDC. Just another high school reminder. It is Arizona revised statute that a school district cannot withhold a student's transcript because they are owed money. Okay? I continue to get letters from a couple of school districts right here in Maricopa County that say that they're not going to give me a student's transcript because the student owes the school district money. That is illegal. Please share that information with your higher-ups because obviously it affects the student. The kid's the one that suffers because we don't have a transcript. Now, of course, private schools do not fall under that. So if you've got a student who comes to you from one of the parochial schools and they haven't paid their tuition at the parochial school, which is why they withdrew and come to you, they don't have to give us anything. But if you're a public school and you receive public funding, you cannot withhold student records because they owe you money. And Grand Canyon Diploma business rules, the phase 1, which is the program codes, have been implemented, but no business rules or integrity have been implemented yet. And just a reminder that the new codes for the MIMR and MOMR students in special ed will be put into place next year in 14. This on the screen right now, that is the username and password if you need to get onto the guest net here at Alhambra. And go to the website, the Alhambra website, there's a link there to be able to get onto the district website, and that's the username and password. I did talk long enough, good for me. Not at all. All right. All right. Thank you. Thank you again for coming to the meeting. And Mark Masterson, the Chief Information Officer for IT, is here to talk to us about the RFP. Thank you very much.
No, it's warm enough. It's cold this morning. Good morning. Thank you for inviting me to, I love this group because you're the group that welcomed me into this job. I don't know if you remember that. We've got a whole lot of room in here now, but there was standing room only that day. And I needed a flak vest and nobody told me that. But now you're asking where the future is, and I've spent 2 years figuring it out. And I am now here to tell you that I can actually tell you where it is. And we're sitting in front of the legislature. Arizona Ready has just, you've heard me talk about AELAS, Arizona Education, Learning, and Accountability System. Arizona Ready, who's the governor's P20W council, led by Craig Barrett and Superintendent Hoovendahl, has said this is the system. It's taken us 2 years to get there. It's not an IT system. It belongs to somebody else. This shouldn't be me. This belongs to the educators. This was built by you, for you. So the reason you asked me here is to talk about an SIS RFP and where that is. We'll get to that very shortly, because my goal is to speak to about 25 minutes between me and Kamal, and then turn it open for questions. So today you get an opportunity to volunteer. You know, when I was in the military, they said you never volunteer. But then you get volunteered. So I think it's always better to mark your own course. You represent users of what the systems that we have. Well, we don't have very many deployed, which we will be deploying. So they will or may not affect you. But the first thing I'll say is that this is all opt-in model. Everything we're going to talk about today is if your district wants to do this, they can do this. It will not be, in this state, ever mandated. So this is up to you to decide whether it's for you and with your superintendents. I think I should tell you where we've been. I've learned about government RFPs. If they could take a long time, they do. And where I think they should last 4 months, they last 10. So this is really a slow process. We've got to figure out how to move faster through this. I can say that we put some very good quality documents together. We've not had a protest. Wow, that's something I better knock on wood on. And which means that at least we're making sure that it stays legal. Our first proposal on the street was the educator evaluation tool. What is that? That's where we provided a tool to the state. Currently, Maricopa County Education Services Agency, I probably messed that acronym up too, is got 15 districts that they're using this tool. But this tool is not just for them, it's for the state. The way it works is it allows you to do observations on teachers and principals. It'd be part of the pay for performance, but as we are a local state that has different rules for every district, you could have different rules that you put into the tool. It doesn't have to be one rule set. Everything that we're going to talk about in the future and any system that comes out for you, by you, will be rules driven. That way if you change your mind, it's not like SACE. God bless if I have to change a rule because it will break it. That's not built like that. And so this is a educator evaluator tool that we've provided. It's about, I'd say, 20 days from going live and being put into use. An assessment RFP for an assessment for this state. This is an area that has a huge opportunity. I can't talk about certain things on it. It is finished. They're in final negotiations, not final negotiations. We're waiting to, it should be this week, I can tell you who won. And I can start discussing how you guys, or how districts can sign up for this. I can tell you right now that the price reduction based on the state versus what districts pay for whatever vendor that you may have is significant. This will be something that I think that after a period of time, you'll be able to want to move your districts to. Here's why. PARC is coming. Everybody's heard about PARC, and it's coming. Assessment tool allows you to do formative, all the way from formative to high stakes. Again, the McKeesa Real Grant will be doing high stakes with type B courses, which is everything with English, language arts, and math. They will do high stakes on that. It means it's locked down, nobody can see it. Formative, you could have districts putting their questions in it and using it for Common Core practice. The biggest benefit is the other vendors that may have solicited and work in the state. When you put a question in their system, they own it. We own them. So if there's a district that has some really good test developers and they're validated, the state gets to benefit from it all. Because some districts don't have a lot of money to do that kind of thing. And for example, the McKeesa Real Grant is building 80,000 questions. That's a whole lot of questions that can be leveraged. And if we don't like the vendor, we can fire them. Because we own the material. We just take it, and it is all standards-based, which means it fits into any standards-based system. We own it, we take it, we move it. That way we take ownership, us, the educators, take ownership of our material. So that should be out this week. Our goal is to have this up and running for the next school year, and start to, again, it's opt-in. We have to figure out a pricing model for districts to opt into, and it's, again, some districts just paid a whole lot of money for a system. Well, then it's not for you right now. But when it gets to a period of time that your LEA has got to that time where you got to make another decision, that might be the time. And again, it's all about what you're expecting. Our objective is to provide you what you told us you wanted. We went out to 200 districts. 50% of our students were covered. And this is what you told us you wanted services for. And this is what we've been working towards. The next one that is delayed by a week, it was on the street a week and a half ago, I think 2 weeks ago, is the instructional improvement system. The instructional improvement system really also ties to the assessment system. Now, what's amazing, and I'm proud of the team that I have working for me, and I'm proud of the state, North Carolina had a $300 million Race to the Top grant. Ohio and Massachusetts had similar, Georgia, Florida, big money. We beat them in the period of time. It took them 3 years to get it on the street. They just awarded. We've had less than a year, and it's out on the street today. We should award and have it implemented this summer. What does this do for you? Well, if you take a picture, an educator gives a formative assessment test in the classroom, determines that students in that classroom do not understand greatest common factor, a math fact that's tied to Common Core, they can turn to this instructional improvement system, and it will suggest them content they can use to help that student. Or let's say you have a teacher that has, let's say, 25 out of our, well, we know we have 38 kids in the class, not 25. So 38 kids in the class, and 35 of those kids don't get a fact, don't get something. Maybe the principal will get, not maybe, the principal will be will be aware of this so that the principal can help that teacher by professional training, which is the professional development system. So now, when we initially purchased these systems, the content is not all, we don't have all the content. The content will grow in time. What we're buying is a shell, because I'm an IT person, I don't know what the content, that's what the educators know is what content they need. Now, the biggest benefit of these kind of systems is if Paradise Valley or some big district spends many millions of dollars every couple of years on content today, now you can put the content and share it. It becomes a state resource. Yes, ma'am?
Is this tied in with the Masterson?
It's also coming with the McKeesa.
So there's also
It's statewide, though. This is going to be statewide.
But if you're a Masterson district.
You're, for the first 3 years, McKeesa is going to give this to you for free.
Okay. and
They're
then-
paying for it?
Okay, so it is the same.
Absolutely. So McKeesa, through their real grant, will, but they wanted sustainability. The first year, the states, so anybody here knows what IDEAL is? How many people know what IDEAL is? This is replacing. So IDEAL will turn off. We will move the content in IDEAL to this. We have to make sure that the magic behind the scenes in this is called XML stamping on all the content so you can tie it to a common core. So that, when you go to Google and you put something in there and you get 3,000 pages of results, well, nobody likes that. So you really want to get results that are targeted to your need. We will also build in, as we build enhancements go on. For example, teachers can say, like, I like this content. And then you get a whole lot of likes. Guess what happens? It hits up on the front. So people, if you trust that teacher's likes, then you think about using it. The whole purpose of these tools, the assessment, this instructional improvement system, and teacher and learning evaluation, the whole purpose behind it, AELAS, because everybody kept saying, well, you're replacing SACE, that's all you're doing, right? No. SACE is the biggest mess. But that's not the objective. The objective is the state has passed a whole bunch of laws. One is teacher and principal observation, pay for performance. They also passed basically the Arizona Common Core, have to re-educate the whole workforce. All this stuff requires tools. And we're a little late. Probably should have had this a couple years ago because Park is supposed to roll out next year. But these tools will help us move through this a lot easier. If we can get through procurement, this one's a killer. This will be a very complex procurement because those three systems could be 1 vendor, 3 vendors, 5 vendors. As you noticed, I said I'm not building anything. What you heard me say, I'm buying. The things that we'll do on the back side of this is where my expertise comes in. I told you long ago is the intelligence part, building the engine that makes all these talk to each other. Because what today happens in most of the LEAs that I found is that you buy a lot of these systems, but they stand by themselves. What you don't have is a learning system. So this system will learn based on your behaviors over time. It starts out with no learning because it has no knowledge. It takes time to build up data. And the more that opts in, now obviously the McKeesa is going to be out the door, but the other benefit of this is the dashboard side that we are already starting to deploy. We'll link all that to these so that you will have real-time feedback. If you, for example, you will know what your children do not understand. Not in 5 days. So we're going to get right into the part that they asked me to speak. Make sure my time is right. Is in this area. And before I introduce somebody and invite them up to talk, is that this is not an easy thing to do. SACE today is not one system. It's a whole lot of them those of you that, there's people in this room that probably helped build this thing. I look at it though as two major components with lots of systems. One is student, and two is payment. So we're going to split it. There'll be a student operational data, and all student will be pure. We're writing a bill right now that's in legislation that's going to change how we do things by FY15 school year. Effective FY15 school year, if the bill goes in as stands, the state will become the student master. There could be, you could all have your SISs, but they must update any change in the student record, teacher record, or curriculum record. If there's no changes, there's no update. If there's a change today, it will update tonight. The master will be this system. You will be paid from this system. The 20-day thing will be history. We will work with your SIS vendors to make that happen. I'm already been on the phone with 5 of the chief executive officers of the 5 largest SIS vendors. They know this is coming. So it should not be an impact to how you do business. If you don't update a student daily, obviously we don't have an updated database. If you put in the wrong data, we'll have wrong data too. Now we're hopefully going to build better rule sets, validated. We're also looking to, part of this major component of this is we had a district down in southern Arizona. A student moved in October. They called the department and said, it's February, we still don't have their transcripts. We've asked them 35 times. We've had to retest the special needs students and it cost us X dollars. They were pretty hot. That's going to be gone. Because now we'll have digital transcript. We'll change ownership based on, so it is a big data store. Today, Alhambra owns it. Tomorrow, Tucson owns it. Of course, there still has to be the negotiation. Tucson just can't take ownership because it could still be, this could be a game somebody's playing. But it will be a lot faster than 5 months, or maybe never see it. It should be within 24 to 48 hours. Because there will be automated portions of this that if Tucson enrolls them, it'll be a checkbox for Alhambra the next day. Did they leave your school? If it's just a simple one, yes. If they did not, that is going to have to take a human being. Why are they in 2 places? Now we know that they could be enrolled in multiple schools, but our current law today is somebody still owns them. So they'll be able to see the record in multiple schools if they're enrolled in multiple schools. But somebody still owns them. That's how the payments work. But the future, how payment works, will be up to the legislature, and we can change rules based on the changing of a rule very easily. We're talking, there's money that's going to be coming to districts to help pay for park. That's a change in SACE. Boy, that's going to be a major problem. We'll break it. Anybody see the paper in the last week about the $37 million of SACE issues? I think I came in here and told you there's at least 1%, and that's $40 million. That's 1%. I'll make you bet there's 4%. And it's not anybody's fault. It's just when people touch things and when humans make rules in isolations, well, that's what happens. So hopefully in the future when we make rules, not hopefully, we will, every rule that we will make will be validated by a committee. And it won't just include ADE. That way when everybody, because we will make mistakes, humans make mistakes on rules, it'll be more than one person that has to take responsibility because it's not fair. It'll be a group of people that can say we blew it, but we'll fix it. And it'll be just changing a rule. It's not reprogramming the system. Okay, before I go on, I want to sort of get a feel of the audience. I know there's vendors that attend this. Could I get the vendors' hands in the room? Okay, about 8, 9. How many of you are school business officials? Business office, not just very limited. Oh, there's a few, okay? The reason why it's different conversations that we can have. I am going to have a similar meeting like this with the ASBO business officers, because there's different levels of customer. And so very quickly, before I run out of time and get in trouble, the AELAS business case has been published, and what I told you, we did find that we spend a whole lot of money on SIS systems in this state. We spend approximately $155 million for about 4 or 5 different systems, mostly here. We believe that for $40 million, thereabouts, $45 million, a co-op, and that's the part we got to work through, can provide the same service for $45 million. You take that money and put it back in education every year. That's huge. It's a decision that you and your LEAs need to make. Like I said, it's opt-in. There's some LEAs that pay $35 a student for SIS. Some pay considerably less. I can imagine who'd want to jump on. We'll have to see what the pricing is, of course, once we get through an RFP, but this is the approach that we're taking. The biggest benefit is seamless into the rest of the systems that we're building. So if you're in this, the more data you see, because the more it's all there. Now, we will still work with your SIS vendors. I'm working in 2 different channels. One to provide a standard statewide SIS, and for those of you, because I have the FY15 law to meet, if it's passed, for those of you that keep your SIS vendor, I will be working with your vendor to put extractors, ETL, and code into your system 2 ways in order to meet the payment reporting requirements and the data requirements that the states is going to put out. One of our major vendors in this state is very excited to work with us, and that's Pearson. The reason they're very excited is because having all these systems costs them a lot of money. They spend a lot in maintenance. They see this as a way forward, not just in our state, there's 14 other states that are starting to think about this. So we will connect into your SIS, do all those transactions daily. Now, it's easier if we have one. Like I told the legislator the other day, he said, well, can I tell you to go use X vendor? No, that probably wouldn't work. However, I'd love you to say, mandate this for the state, but that will never happen. Because that would make this whole lot easier and cheaper. Now, you can't do a whole state in 1 year anyway. This takes about 5 to 6 years is what we figure, maybe even 7. So when districts have earned all that money or value out of the SIS system and they have to do an upgrade, that may be a time to look at a state solution. Or if you're in that point that you're in the financial benefit. So I'd like to introduce you, we've changed our organization into a different kind of model that probably has never been operated in government. And what I've done is created in our department delivery directors that own systems. Now they actually sit in 2 places. They operate directly with the program areas, tied back into IT, so that we get the requirements. Program areas also include you. As I've always told you when I come here, you're the most important part of the problem. Because if I build a system for me, nobody's using it. This is where it's really important that we understand what you need. Now, let's be honest, if I came into the room with 3,000 people in it and tried to get a consensus, you know how it is around the family table. If you have a big family, you can't get it. So we want to have a reasonable size group to help drive it, and we hope that it's representative of the state. We won't hope, we will make sure it is. Smalls, larges, urbans, rurals, charters, and districts. And when we come up with the requirements, then we will do an RFP. So the person that's responsible for this delivery to you is Kumal, and I'm going to have her come up here and sort of describe the rest of this presentation for you. And she's the one that you're going to see a lot of. It's not that I'm disappearing. I'm sort of trying to make all this happen behind the scenes. Additionally, should take about 5 minutes, and the rest I can help get some questions.
Nice to meet you, everyone. And what we're really going to do, go ahead with, I just want to kind of run you through with what we're planning to do on getting the SIS system opt-in, and Mark has already explained. Just look up, gather all the requirements, and put an RFP out. But we can't do that without getting requirements from you, understanding your pain areas, understanding what is working well for you today, not working well for you today. So what I'm looking for is to get you to come in and be a volunteer, who can volunteer for our coming in and helping work with the requirements. I also would want you to see that you don't just come in and say, okay, you don't have time, do you have the permission to come there? Have you got the approvals from whomever you need so that you can put in the time and effort to help build the system out, get the requirements? I didn't say that. So we definitely want you to see if you have the leadership support and you can come in and work with and support the requirements. What are the requirements that you're looking at? What is the time you're going to be focusing on? How much of your time is going to be there? Expecting 2 meetings a month, maybe about 2 hours in a meeting, and a couple of months. The faster we get it out, the faster it's going to be to implement. So let's see how it goes from there. Timeline perspective, what do we want to get started with? We definitely want to set up the first meeting by the first week of March, so March the 4th. That would be an ideal scenario. All emails can go to Rose for sending it off. You can come back, let us know by the February 22nd. If it takes a few days, you need to get your leadership support, that should be fine. What do we expect from that whole volunteering? You want to focus on the specific modules that you want to be working with. Of course, default is attendance, enrollment, scheduling. What about summer schools? What about the electronic transcript that Mark just spoke about? What are we expecting there? What about the migrant programs and all the other related information? The Title I program, where does all that fit in? Do we know what we want to focus on? What's our priority? No, that's something that we want to set out on our first meeting, on the agenda, that which are the ones we focus on? What do we get out of that? Start building out those requirements that can enroll into the whole RFP, get the whole statement of work done up, and put it out there. Get your ideas. It may be something that's not there today in the system. It could be something that's in the system. It could be something that we can work on that we've not yet thought of from an integration perspective. Right now we're looking at integration with assessments and the SIS. It can also be all the way in integration for what we can do for the special ed. How we can integrate even adult education details in it. Get all those pieces together. Definitely looking forward to getting your help in getting the system out, getting all the requirements.
As of right now, would it function as a standalone system, or would we still need our other SIS just to make sure that we can day-to-day stuff?
No, the way we're looking at it, when we say it's going to be an SIS opt-in, that means that's the SIS that you use. And then we collect all the data through EdFax and through all the transcripts, so we get all the data back. You don't need another SIS again. So whatever your current SIS is, you don't want to use that, you want to opt into the statewide SIS, that's what you use. That's going to be your day-to-day. If you want to have an integration with the transportation module, your meal planning module, that's what you're looking for. When the state builds out those opt-in modules, you'll get that whole integration as well.
The opt-in state one, is that functional?
The opt-in state one is that's what you're going to help us build and design and go to an RFP. And the way we'll do the pricing on it is the first year will be, so you don't get the benefit, right? So the first year is build out, and then you start paying when you get the benefit. So you have to sunset. We know you're not going to pay twice. That'd be dumb. You don't want to pay 2 vendors. It will be a vendor solution. Now, Kamal brings to us an experience of she built SISs for a major vendor. I won't tell you who that is. But like I said, I'm the dumb guy. I hired really smart people. And so that she will and the benefit is she won't come to the table with a blank sheet. She'll bring a template of what an SIS should have at the core, so that we can start the discussion there. Is there any other kinds of questions that I can entertain? Because I know you have a very busy day, and I did want to let you know that we really are doing something. From a SLED's perspective, I don't see any hands go up. We have implemented Vail with our first version of SLED's dashboards, and Kingman, and AmeriSchool's charters. The Nikisa Reel will be next. And that's longitudinal though. Until we get real-time data, it's going to have to stay longitudinal. But what does longitudinal provide you? If you had a student that's been in our system for 10 years, you'll get 10 years worth of names. And you'll get all their attendance. You'll get all their data we've had that we've never given to you. So your teachers, the teachers that are using this are just blown away with the speed that will happen. Our goal is to keep, honestly though, from a longitudinal point of view, it really works at the beginning of the school year when you're trying to sort out what your kids are, and if you get a new child. Until you get real time, it's not as beneficial in the middle of the year because you pretty much figured them out as a teacher, I would think. But this is, we used an individual that asked me a question, Miss Kate Robold in Vail. She said that I spent 5 days at the beginning of the year looking through everybody's paper in order to figure out what my kids were like. She now has 20 seconds because it's all there. And she has every kid. Now that's also the benefit of why you've done the student course teacher, because that gives me the capability to give that to you. We never had that before. So we are working towards really enabling this state. The key thing is it's taking a lot of negotiation with vendors. The magic behind this is security. There's got to be a seamless SAML implementation, which is single logon, which means I have to I got to trust your system. If I don't trust your system, then I have to have the security on my side, and then the audit agency gets all over me because I never delete anybody because I never know they left. So that's the long pole intent. The Pearson implementation of the SAML interface will be complete at the end of February. Once that's complete, we could potentially turn on every Pearson school. Because the way you enter the longitudinal warehouse is through your SIS. It's really on your menu. So if you have an SIS with Pearson, that will happen. I'm working with EduPoint. I'm working with, at the very early stages of Infinite Campus. But this takes a lot of negotiation, and it takes a lot of work. So, but this will enable the whole state to be able to use data. I have 5 minutes or so, or I can turn this over to the next speaker, which will be happy as heck to have extra time. Yes, ma'am.
Say if you own the student and the student's been in the system for 10 years and the kid is hopped 6 times,
I will have all of it except, I will have it all. As long as they were in the state. Now, ultimately, I'm working at the national level to try to figure out how we move kids through states. Because part of the P20W, and I was with Career Technical and Education and Post-Secondary yesterday in Prescott. Their #1 interest is when they graduate a child, or a man or a woman, did they get the job that they studied for, and what's their pay? So that's tying this to the workforce. So if you graduate from Arizona State University and you have a degree in sociology or something, and you're a waiter, why did you do that? Maybe they wanted to, but maybe it's there was no jobs. So what we're ultimately trying to do is build a supply chain demand into the system so that we can tell kids at earlier ages these are the future jobs and prepare themselves for those kind of jobs. It's a little late. This is the only commodity, and I don't like to call students as commodities, but it is, that show up completed product at the end of high school, at the end of college or community college. And they didn't know that nobody wanted it. That's a pretty bad thing. Could you imagine a manufacturer making a car that nobody wanted to go out of business? So students should have real-time feedback, and things change. Times change. So they start, maybe in 3rd grade there's these career fields, and then in 6th grade it changes again because of time. And these career fields. But and it should be optional. Again, this is just telling them information. Parents can work with kids to do whatever they want to do in their life. But it's really sad if you spend $150,000 in student loans and you come out and you're not where you want to be. Whatever it is you want to be, you should at least be successful in what you want to be. Any other further questions? Well, I appreciate you taking the time, and either it's still too early and we need to spike your coffee, or this was good enough. You can always contact me on my office. We'll try to answer you if you have SACE issues. Of course, we continue to work them. I should tell you that we are fixing the data push, if you know what that is. That replaces 6 school finance systems. There's 70-some school finance systems. In order to make this new system work, I got to get rid of the 70 systems. There's only 21 different types of students, which means different characteristics drive payment. What we will be doing is having a system that drives payment that you will have daily view. If you were to hypothetically be paid that day, you will be able to see daily on a website what that would be. That will help your business officers. That will help you not have to have all these 2 different systems trying to figure out what you get paid. Of course, the law says when you get paid. But you would know how many students, what the categories are in, so you could keep working it. Because there's still going to be data entry errors. You have them now. Humans make error entry. Unless we put barcodes on people, it ain't going to change. There's going to be errors. But hopefully we have more real-time feedback. Yes, ma'am. So far it's looking like the same county. 100%. They want to see this system implemented, then they could change it. Because right now I can't do 4-day in 6. It's just impossible to implement.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your delivery directors, who they are, what their areas are?
Kamal is responsible for student and admin. And we can put that out on, we'll put that out. What I'll do is post this with you, so we'll give it to everybody in this room. Satish is my delivery manager for back office. There was what I didn't tell you is that there was $280 million in this state paid on systems, only on licenses. When I said $155 million, that was in hardware people, licenses. $280 million a year paid on licenses. The rest of that money, between 288 and 155, is your back office. There is huge opportunity there. I just don't want to go there. Let's stick with something that's easier first, and that would be this, what we're talking about. But so he's in charge of back office. I have Jolene Newton, who I think has been in here before. She's in charge of teacher and student. And then I have Amit Soman, who is responsible for sleds and reporting. So, and analytics. When we have the data to do analytics, we don't have any data, so we can't do anything. All we have is historical data. But that's what we're doing. So, does that help you? And we'll get you a letter. Anything else? Thank you very much, and have a great, great weekend.
All right, we'll take a 15-minute break until our next presentation from Huntsville and HR. Thank you.